Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at IONQ. It is time for another update, and on this chart we are tracking a larger 5-way move to the upside that is expected to develop, and right now it can actually still work out both as an impulse and as a larger leading diagonal to be forming. And while we are at the moment still tracking both interpretations, I have decided to actually remove one of them. Now they are still pretty much interchangeable, especially within this structure to the upside, as within both patterns we are actually tracking just an ending diagonal, and in the end within both patterns we expect a fifth wave still to appear within an ABC movement, and that is all for this larger wave 3. Now before we do that, I also wanted to point out that for the wave C, we can track here an ideal target overall, and that would be the 100% extension of the wave A. That would be at the $157 level. Now, as I always tell you, this is an ideal target and we don't need to get there, but it is a level that it is generally drawn towards. Realistically, within this wave 5, we may get to something like the 78.6% extension, the $99 level, or around that area anyway, and it would be perfectly fine. We don't need to form such a large structure within this wave 5. And then we can actually go ahead and focus only on the idea of an impulse for now. And overall, for this structure to the upside, we actually, no, I would want to keep this, but for this structure to the upside, I would still like to see another high. While it isn't necessarily outlandish to find an early top, I would still like to extend higher for a couple of reasons. So within this wave 3, we would have the ideal target at the 138.2% extension of the wave 1, and that is around the $92-93 level. Yeah, it seems to be around the, maybe even $94 level. Yeah, basically just below the 78.6% extension. And in the end, it won't matter too much. We are focusing here internally on this structure to allow us to track a signal or multiple signals for a breakout into this wave 5, or for a signal that this structure is most likely going to fail, which is here the break below the 61.8% retracement of the wave 4, the $33.6 level. Now in the previous video, I actually do want to change here this internal count before we move on. The degree, but in the previous video we were actually still looking for extensions lower, and we followed through quite nicely. So a couple of points here: we were preferring maybe even an internal extension within this wave C. Now apparently we didn't get it. We pushed into the 38.2% retracement of the larger wave 4. We did also provide this area of resistance, and we extended lower, forming a bottom within this wave C. Now quite clearly this is a full count to the downside, not just the wave C, but the entire ABC structure within the wave 4. And ideally we actually already formed a bottom within the wave 4, and we should already start focusing on continuation higher for wave 5. We will be tracking in this video an internal area of support for such an idea. But before that, I also want to point out that there is no reason to believe that this pattern to the downside, this wave 4, cannot extend, because realistically, the market can always shift and morph its structures into something even more bearish, or it may just be not prepared for a more direct breakout, and in that case we would be watching here a more generic area of resistance with the levels between the $51.6 all the way up to the $71.3 level, where if we manage to break the 78.6% retracement, it would be a signal to us that this structure is more likely to push higher and complete the larger pattern. Now, other scenarios are realistically possible, but we aren't necessarily going to focus on them, as we can already have an area of support that can allow for the continuation higher and an area of resistance, but we will have here this idea of an ABC movement that could allow extension lower. Now, with that said, we have gotten into the area of resistance, and unfortunately we only have a 3-wave move to the upside. Now, this isn't a deal breaker for the overall larger wave 5. This is expected after all to form only an ABC movement to the upside, and this could have been the wave A of a larger wave A. It could have been the wave 1 of a larger leading diagonal within the wave A, and overall we need to be prepared for these interpretations, as while it is not a reliable trade setup to use in this area for continuation higher, it is also not impossible for this structure to actually succeed in forming a larger pattern to the upside. And for now, we are going to focus internally in the white scenario on a 5-wave move to the upside, but I want to make it clear once again, this structure could actually still form just an ABC movement, yeah, that could actually work out even within the wave B in orange. This correction can still see extensions, but for continuation higher, we are going to mostly focus here on the area of support between the $48 level all the way down to the $41.3 level at the 78.6% retracement, where if we manage to break the 78.6% retracement, it would be a signal that this structure is actually or has actually a preference that it would extend to lower prices still, yeah, possibly a reset within the wave 4, possibly a break of the area of support. But again, that is not a focus right now. We are focusing on the 5th wave, on this area of support and this area of resistance for continuation. Now internally within this wave 2, we could have even looked here at a potential bottom into the 50% retracement, but we only formed a 3-wave move to the upside, and we have suffered an extension of the wave 2 after basically facing a near 100% retracement from the wave A. Yeah. Now into this correction, into this push to the downside, I am at the moment tracking an internal wave C. Yeah, even within this structure, I am looking for a potential 5-wave move to the downside to still be forming, and in this case, I would actually still prefer further downside for or at least at the moment. Now there are many ways to actually interpret this structure, especially since it is on such a small time frame and it is going to prove rather difficult to read, but right now I could actually even see this to be a 1, 2, 3, and we have here a wave 4 correction and then a 5th wave, or then we would actually still expect a larger 1, 2 setup at least. Yeah, so at the moment, after forming a movement, another low within this movement to the downside, I would like to see another correction and yet another low ideally, but again, these structures are on a very small time frame and they can morph, and they actually do all the time. So right now what I am focusing on here is an area of resistance for such a wave 4, which is at the levels between the $45.9 all the way up to the $47 level, where in this wave 4 so far we have actually pushed perfectly into the 38.2% retracement, and we have already gotten our more significant reaction, and the 38.2% retracement is the ideal target for a wave 4, meaning that, yeah, realistically we should be quite prepared for a more direct descent here into an internal wave 5 of a larger wave 3. And then once this is done, again, at least one more low would still be ideal to have a clearly full structure within this area. But I want also to be very clear, it is not necessarily a very easy structure to read. Yeah, this movement to the downside could actually be counted as a leading diagonal within a singular wave 1, and I could also be tracking it as a series of 1, 2 setups as well, so I won't focus too much on this area. But for now, yeah, until we break the 50% retracement, an impulse is still possible, and then if we manage to break it and we can start looking for even further continuation higher, I cannot really look for very early signals that are too reliable. Sure, they could prove relevant, but honestly I would still need to see here a break above the 78.6% retracement of this entire movement to the downside for, yeah, something that actually is more reliable, and I would need a sustained break here above the $53 level, and along the way we actually have significant structural resistances as well. Yeah, here at these levels is a very significant box, and then in this area as well we have several tops that have been formed before continuing in this larger initial movement to the downside. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.